Good morning on Wednesday, October 18th. It is episode 301 of the 359 podcast. You know me, I'm BBG, and today it's the Dream Team, the OGs, the Ben Fox Rubin, and the Roger Cheng.
Hi.
Hi.
I was rolling with. I had a vibe. Screwed up my rhythm.
I ruined it. I ruined it. Yeah, I know.
Did you? Is that like your new thing? I really like that. You know me, the BBG.
I don't know.
That's pretty sweet.
I like it.
It rings true.
It
does ring. Yes, it's very BVG.
I definitely like your hype man intros, and then we intentionally awkwardly ruin them.
I know. Well, that was sort of how this podcast started, right? Two awkward guys talking about
Hello.
tech. Hey.
Anyway, today we're going to be talking about foldable, bendable, expandable phones, mostly foldable phones, one from ZTE that just got announced earlier this week, and also the future of shopping and commerce, how you may end up spending all your money at retailers sometime in the future, including AI, VR, chatbots, all that good stuff.
It was such an awesome story. I didn't read it, so I need to get all my info from you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, that's what the podcast is for, I guess.
The podcast. I learn something new every day on the podcast.
For the record, we don't actually socialize with each other in the office. They actually have to put us in front of cameras
That's right.
to talk.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
very weird.
Oh, yeah.
But
It's
this
awkward.
is the future.
It's a
even more
CBS
awkward.
thing.
Yeah.
So, as always, send in your questions and comments. BVG will get to as many of them as he can at the end of the show. Without further ado, let's get to the podcast.
In 3, 2...
Welcome to the 359. I'm Ben Fox Rubin.
I'm Roger Cheng.
So this Chinese phone maker, ZTE, introduced a new phone called the Axon M, which has two displays that can be folded out into one bigger display.
Yep.
Roger, you wrote about this. I know, I get it. Phones are really kind of boring now. They're all fairly similar, but is this really the solution?
No, not necessarily. I think this is a good first generation attempt. I do appreciate the fact that it's different. You know, in a sea of slabs where it's just plastic, metal, glass, they all kind of look alike. This is at least a different phone.
Yeah, I guess so.
Look,
it's like you appreciate like an indie film that you'll never watch,
right?
In the same way.
So I think it is significant in a different way. I don't think it's necessarily going to be a blockbuster phone. I don't know how many people are going to buy it. But what it does do is hint at the future of foldable phones. That we've been talking about the idea of these phones that wrap around our wrists or screens that bend around that can fold over each other.
Or that could even like be expanded, like they stretch out. You could basically have a phone that turns into a TV.
Exactly. Which I think we're a little bit further away from that still.
But I'm really excited about
the
that.
bendable thing is totally true. Is totally legit. Samsung said it wants to build a bendable or foldable phone by next year. I mean, they're saying they're kind of hedging a little, like saying that it may not actually happen. You know, depends on. There's a lot of technical issues with that, but that's what they're shooting for. And I think the fact that ZTE came out today with this phone or yesterday with this phone, hopefully, my hope is it jumpstarts the rest of the industry to start thinking about it, or gets them lights a little fire for them to start thinking about this new wave. Because I do think foldable phones could be sort of the solution to this phone fatigue we're having.
Okay, but one of the other trends that we were really looking at for a while were mods, and that didn't really take off. You mentioned in one of the stories, in a story you wrote today, about how the Amazon Fire Phone also tried to be a little bit different and also completely failed. So is it really a smart move to try to get away from that tried and true concept?
I mean, yes and no. I think for a company like ZTE, they have little to lose here. One thing, they're a fairly low profile company. You probably never heard of ZTE.
And we're talking about them now, so way to go, ZTE.
There you go. And so they're mostly known for making budget phones. They've created this foldable phone. They've created a little bit of buzz, and they've got AT&T backing them in a big way. And so it's for them again. They don't have a lot to lose, and they're introducing a new concept that hopefully others pick up this baton and keep running, and really kind of push this forward in a meaningful way.
Also, we wanted to get to another story. Amazon isn't the only company dreaming up the future of shopping. At a conference this week, Walmart's head of U.S. e-commerce offered a handful of futuristic concepts. He mentioned having a conversation with your voice assistant like Siri or Amazon Alexa or Google Assistant to figure out what TV to buy. Now, granted, that would probably put a lot of the reviewers that work for CNET out of business. But like the concept of like a Jarvis-style Alexa or something. It sounds really sexy and interesting, but I think we're quite a few years away from that.
Yeah, I don't think the AI is intelligent enough to really kind of get through the nuance of some of your questions, especially if you have like unusual circumstances, right? Like maybe your living room is in a weird position,
Right.
or you want a really specific TV or specific specs. I'm more interested in the VR aspect, to be able to kind
Right.
of shop remotely and how VR might change your shopping experience. Like, 'cause if it can replace the experience of me going to Costco and fighting the crowds on a Saturday or Sunday, like I would be all for that. I'd pay up for that.
Well, one of the things that he also talked about with VR shopping is that you would look for an item in its natural environment. So as a for instance, if you're shopping around for a tent, you put on a VR headset and instantly you're transported to a campsite. Your voice assistant would be integrated into that, where you could literally ask your voice assistant any question about this specific tent and it would be able to answer, like, what
Can you
material,
like
what's the
swap
price?
in and swap in different tents? Like,
Maybe. Yeah, definitely. You could go in it, you could walk around it. So those are some of the interesting concepts that he was talking about that are, granted, more futuristic, but maybe that is a future of how we're going to shop and what commerce is going to look like. Anyway, if you want to read more about these stories, check us out on CNET. I'm Ben Fox Rubin.
I'm Roger Cheng.
Thanks for listening.
Good show. That was a
We're
very
done.
informative show.
We're
I
done.
know.
Yeah.
We're the OGs.
Finito. That's
we're
right.
the OGs. We
We're the
started
pros.
really slow, and then we really picked it up when things got hot and the timer was going off.
Right.
Yeah, and now we just kind of tune everybody out.
What? Come on, get to questions.
Questions.
I
want questions.
So like the shopping and commerce stuff, especially, is like that's my life right now. Like that's what I write about. So any questions about that, I'm obviously like very interested in. But on top of that, I used to cover component makers. So
Right.
I also wrote about this concept of like foldable, stretchable displays, and I totally agree with you that this could very well be the thing that shakes us out of phone fatigue and significantly changes the way phones are going to look.
If you take a look at that concept video that Samsung put out a couple years ago, granted,
It was in 2013.
Yeah, exactly. This was, again, a concept video, not an actual product. It was amazing, right? Like, it was a phone on the outside, you fold it out, there's a bigger screen on the inside. You're like, whoa, that's crazy.
It was like
There's three,
like a
actually,
billfold
technically-
wallet. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But if there was an extra screen on top of one side of that billfold, right? So that's three. I mean, that answered the biggest issue that Brian had with the Axon M, where the two screens are on the outside and they flip up to create like a bigger screen. But that bottom screen is maybe prone to scratches or dents or nicks or cracks.
Maybe.
Hey, Gorilla
Right.
Glass 5 is super strong. That's what Corning tells me.
It's the Kentucky
Ding.
Fried Chicken double down of phones.
There you go. not only
true.
that, but like it's not a seamless display. There's
It's
still
not.
like that black bar
There
in
is.
between.
They've done a good job. So there was a phone that looked like this before, the Kyocera Echo. It had a huge border around it. So when they folded it up as a single screen, there was this really thick black border there. To ZTE's credit, they made it a little bit smaller, but it is still there. It's not a full seamless experience when you have that combined screen. The more useful scenario that they gave me was two screens, right? Like mail on one, email on one.
Oh,
watching
you're holding
video
it
on
kind
the
of
other.
like this. Yeah.
Well, no, you're holding it like this. Like
Oh,
email on
and then
on
you're
the top.
multitasking with it.
And you're
Yeah.
multitasking. You're watching a video or you're watching YouTube on the top screen. You're commenting on the second screen or you're Instagramming on the second screen. You're doing different things.
Yeah, because one of the things that we really need to do is be more sucked into our phones by doing even more
Yeah,
stuff.
and
on them.
actually, I'm guilty of what's known as stacking. I use my phone while watching my TV. Right? Could you imagine watching your TV and then watching another video and then texting or emailing
Right.
on three screens?
Well, and then you throw in an AR headset and bingo,
There you
you're in the
go.
future.
There you go.
Yeah, I think that may have happened in Back to the Future, actually. So, way to go, Marty McFly Jr. You predicted all of this.
Now just get us that friggin' hoverboard.
Right.
Oh, still waiting for that hoverboard.
One that doesn't explode.
All right, question time. First of all, there's more than a few people in the chat pointing out there's not really bending or folding. There
Correct.
are two screens on a hinge.
Yeah. Yes.
So full disclosure.
Well, it is, yes, but it is a phone that technically folds. It's not the screen that folds, but the device
There's a folding
itself.
action.
Yes. To my point, like I feel like this is a hint or suggestion to where we actually will go, and I think that's where we want to be, is with actual legit foldable phones. We're not there yet. The technology is not quite ready yet, but big companies like Samsung are working on it. So that gives me some hope.
And a big hurdle to this is the fact that all the other aspects of the phone also need to bend and fold.
Right.
A lot, like LG and Samsung, I think, have done a much better job of figuring out how to bend and fold the display.
Yep.
But you have to figure out how to bend
Right.
and
You've
fold
got
the
batteries,
battery,
chips,
circuitry,
right.
all that other stuff.
All that other stuff. I mean, it's doable. It's definitely possible. But I mean, Lenovo showed off a concept, the C Plus, a year ago at their Tech Summit in SF, where the phone actually wrapped around your wrist, and it was a working phone. I mean, it's a working prototype, but you can do it.
That sounds cumbersome, though. At the size it would have to be a functioning phone, the width it would need to be just sounds bulky on my wrist.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the example of going around your wrist is more like showing how it can bend. It was less about like this is the way you're gonna have this is your new smartwatch, this giant thing around your wrist. It was more like check it out, it can actually bend around your wrist. That's amazing.
That's because that sounds awkward.
Right.
All right. The Datch asks, how meta?
Datch.
How meta can you get? Can you have multiple apps on multiple screens?
That's a great question. I didn't ask about that. I know there were multiple apps.
You're fired.
Sorry.
Datch.
I mean, is it more than one app per screen? Like 4 apps running?
Yeah. I mean, every phone multitasks, but it's an interesting thought that if you can do 2 things at once.
There are like
on
split screen
any
capabilities on
particular
Android, but as far as I can tell, it was 1 app per screen.
Got it.
Yeah.
Wondering, I don't know.
Would you really want to multitask
open
with
a
4
laptop.
apps though? 5
Well, I'm
apps?
thinking about like the kind of heavy lifting I do on a desktop where I'm multitasking kind of situation. But would I do that from my pocket? I don't know.
I don't know.
Like I guess no. I take it back. If I was to do something like to take a video we're working on and have it playing back and doing like time code notes on, that'd be kind of handy actually, especially with a
On
stylus.
a phone.
Yeah.
But wait, how many?
yeah.
But
If
how
you
many
have a
apps would you
stylus.
need running? Just
2.
the 2, right?
Just 2.
So yeah, like I could see 2. 2 is very. I think it's a very easy concept to understand, right? Like writing email on one, maybe having like
watching
2
a video on the
screens.
other.
Yeah, or even having like 2 emails, like your reply email, the old email you're referencing.
Right.
Those all make sense to me.
I think we would all readily admit, though, that ZTE is not the one that's really going to push this whole thing forward.
No.
Once Samsung comes out with something like this, whether it is truly a foldable display or not, then people are really going to start paying attention to this.
I don't think Samsung should come out with anything unless they've got like a legit foldable screen. Like the hinge thing is like I said, it's a nice hint at what we're gonna get. But I mean, Samsung would frankly embarrass themselves if they came out with like a hinge phone, and I don't think they would. Frankly,
that's not what they've been talking about, and that's certainly not what they promised with that sizzle reel back in 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Shout out to everybody pointing out how Westworld did it first.
What?
But Simpsons probably still did it first.
Simpsons probably.
Yeah, I would say Simpsons.
No, there's just a few people in the chat bringing up how Westworld had like a fold-up kind of phone thing
Oh,
in an
I
episode.
mean, yeah, but Westworld was like last year.
To
We've
be-
been talking about this for like a couple of years now.
And not only
I'm
that,
just
that's
making
been,
a pop
And
culture.
also-
It's called audience building.
No,
that's
I,
been has been in sci-fi novels for
Of
I
course
think
it
a while.
has.
and I would
too.
say like, yeah, The Simpsons probably did first. I'm willing to bet they've got it somewhere, some future episode. Of The
Oh,
Simpsons.
definitely.
Yeah.
All right, so we've talked about ZTE. We've talked about Axon.
Axon.
Axon,
Axe off.
Okay.
very funny.
We have talked about the potential for Samsung, and Anirudh asks, do you think any other major OEMs will follow suit from this? Who else is going to
LG.
tumble down the foldable
LG could do
rabbit
it.
hole?
LG definitely could do it. Lenovo has showed off concept products, so they could definitely do it. And then Samsung I think Samsung's the only one who's basically publicly committed to making something next year.
So it sounds to me like it's a lot of the folks that are in the component supply business. Like they control those factories and therefore are able to
it
develop
helps.
this type
It helps
of
that
technology.
LG makes the screens that bend and also has a separate unit that makes the battery and all these different components.
Right.
So
don't expect this in an iPhone anytime soon.
no.
But
But you know what? When you're looking for that kind of like those kinds of groundbreaking innovations, even if they aren't successful, you're not getting it from an iPhone. You're getting it from these different devices, right? We mentioned the Fire Phone with all those front-facing cameras. That was innovative. It just wasn't a popular phone.
Let's fly through
Right.
just a couple more, all right? Danny Green says,
What's up, Danny Green?
bendable, foldable. This has to shorten the lifespan. How long do we expect these to live? And to branch off from that, Matthew Datcher again. what will cases for bendable foldable phones look like? And
All fantastic questions.
And does anyone remember the Entourage Edge, the dual screen tablet?
Oh no, the Entourage Edge.
That does remind me of, I think it may have been ZTE that created like a nested phone/tablet. Do you remember that?
It's also a Nokia Morph.
No, that was it was another Chinese phone maker that did that. It wasn't ZTE.
It was. I remember I wrote about it because Intel had the chipset.
Oh, I can't remember. Maybe it was Lenovo. No.
I don't. It was.
I can't remember because it was
one
like
of the lower tier ones.
It was like phone in a tablet into a laptop, maybe. Or,
no. It was like a phone that you put inside a tablet and then and then it turned itself into a tablet. But
if you go back to the Motorola Atrix, that was basically what it was. You plugged that into a laptop and it acted as the brains of that laptop.
Weird.
Yeah.
So to go to Datch's question, I think that if created correctly, you might not need a case because it would just fold in on itself and the displays would be protected by the body.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd like that design because if I'm pulling it out of my pocket every time if I have to open it up, that's an extra step that I don't want to take. Like it has to have another screen on the outside because I don't want to always fold it out to use it, right?
You used to.
You did used to.
Yeah, but things
With
have
flip
changed.
phones,
Expectations
The
have
Motorola
changed.
Razr. That'll probably be coming back
How
in
long
its
ago
own
was the Motorola Razr?
reboot in like Nokia 3100
Yeah, I know.
or 3110. What is it? The
3300?
3300. Sorry.
Yeah.
Also to Danny's question about lifespan, it's probably true that people might have a bit of hesitation about the length of the life of those phones, especially because people do tend to keep their phones a little bit longer.
Right.
Well, as you mentioned, though, what is the running average? 2 years. Everybody's kind of like falling into this 2 year,
Yep.
3 year.
3 year.
Yeah.
Is that
it
the
used to
average
be
now?
2 years.
Is it extended?
I
'Cause,
haven't,
it used to
I
be
haven't
2.
looked at the stats more recently, but the way that it's been going is that it's been barbelling where people will either get a new phone every year or they'll keep them for 3 to 4 years.
Because it makes a lot of economical sense to keep it nowadays. It makes way more sense to keep the phone now than in the past with contracts, right?
The hope would be that somebody like Samsung wouldn't come out with a phone like this that they readily knew had a shorter lifespan, but that might be asking them a little too much.
All right, let's pivot real quick for one last question before we wrap it up today. Tyson says, do you think that there will be VR headsets everywhere, or are companies going to get in on a universal AR technology where everyone would just have minimal glasses and you would just look at the products?
I mean, I think that either one is way off in the future. I think the idea of a universal AR standard is a nice dream, but it's a pipe dream at this point. Every company is building their own version of AR, and so they're all kind of competing right now. So the idea that they're all going to standardize with like a single pair of glasses just seems really unlikely. I think we're going to get a lot of fragmented attempts at AR for a long time.
I think with VR shopping specifically, the usages that I've seen so far are mostly in the luxury space because most people don't want to pay for and can't afford a VR headset. So these are really more for super users.
Although
these days.
I will say they're getting a lot cheaper.
They are.
Right?
They are. And
there's the
and then
cardboard
it'll
option,
cycle.
which is super cheap, but also kind of crappy. But there are like $100 options, add-ons for Samsung or Daydream that aren't that expensive and give you a pretty decent VR experience.
My expectation, though, again, from shopping is you're already in the store. Let's say you're at a Best Buy or a Walmart, and there's a display there with VR where it provides a lot of additional details and resources that it'll actually give you a reason to stop there, put on a VR headset. Maybe there's somebody there to help guide you through the process. I think that that's something that you might be able to see sometime in the future if it hasn't already
I would
come
say
up yet.
the real benefit of VR is the remote capability, like the fact that I don't have to go to Walmart, that I could just sit at home, put on my VR headset, and shop at
And that
Costco
defeats
or
the purpose.
Walmart, and just be like, all right, I'll buy that, send it to my house.
The reality of going to obtain virtual reality.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. I go there, I shop for my VR headset on my virtual reality headset. That'd be really meta.
I don't think enough people have VR headsets for that to really happen
I know,
quite yet.
I know.
But I agree with you that the shopping from your couch.
Because I've got three VR headsets in my closet collecting dust. I'm like, I need a reason to use them.
Well, they're trying to figure out how to do that. So,
All right,
yeah,
fine.
All right, we are out of time today, but we got to make a special shout out.
Yeah.
definitely very special shout out.
Oh my God.
We had something really cool happen last night. We want to share it with everybody. Check this out right here. Our buddy Assad made us a special poster to celebrate our 300th episode.
Yeah.
This was very awesome and very much made my day. So.
Yeah.
I know.
this was
This really
incredible.
blew my mind. That was awesome.
It's just another one of those situations that proves like, you meet some really cool people in your day to day, and whoever thought that us hanging out here in this weird ass purple room would have turned into something where we make friends on the internet, and they're really, really nice and talented, and
Nice people on the internet. That's just a foreign
Doesn't
concept,
make any
right?
sense.
Yeah.
But thank you. Thank you,
especially on
everybody.
YouTube.
Right. I mean, seriously, this was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Assad, so much. And on that note, let's wrap it up for the day. Ben, take it
Okay,
away.
let's do it. The 359 is available on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, SoundCloud, FeedBurner, Google Play Music, and
of course, CNET.com.
CNET.com. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow.
See you
See you
tomorrow.
tomorrow.